Hello, my name is Dom, the trainer here at Trainwell, and today I am going to be looking at a new programming language called Julia. It's relatively new. As the time of this recording, it's at 1.1. It's called the spiritual successor to Python. And since I've been working with Python, I want to have a look and see what some of the similarities and differences are. So in this video, I'm going to be looking at the syntax, where you can find it, what are some of the differences that I'm coming up with, and then I'm going to use a test-driven development approach to see exactly how it works in the wild. So come and join me. What I've done here is on the left-hand side, I've got my Visual Studio's terminal, and it's going to run Python 3.7. On the right side, I've got a regular terminal, and I'm going to run Julia in there. When you download Julia from julialang.org, which is a link I'm going to put in the show notes, it won't automatically install itself on the command line. You'll have to go ahead and edit your either settings or bash profile to make that happen. But I'm going to just start it up now. As you can see, I've got a little bit of color, which is pretty nice. If I go ahead and fire up Python, it looks like that. No big deal. Just initial impressions. As you can see, I'm running version 1.1.1 of Julia, and as I said, it's relatively new. This version just came out at the time of this recording just about a month ago, so still relatively new. Well, let's go ahead and play around. I'm going to go ahead and create a variable. Let's call it x. Sounds like a good name for a variable, and I'm going to do the same over in Julia. Okay. As you can see, Julia will automatically evaluate and return the object, unlike Python, which can be good if you're sort of debugging or just working through things. If I go ahead and manipulate it, so let's add 2 to that. It's fine. So basic arithmetic will work. If I could go ahead and dynamically change the value to something else, let's call it a string. Call it string. That's fine there in Python. If I go ahead and do that in Julia, hey, it's going to yell at me, not because it doesn't like the word string, but because of the fact that I've used single quotes instead of double quotes. So if I change that to double quotes here, okay, it'll be fine. So if you're coming from a Java or Java or C++ background, you know that there's a difference between single and double quotes, and Julia seems to hold that paradigm here. So just something to be aware of. Let's look at booleans now, for example. In Python, we know that this is true. If I go over to Julia and type the same, it doesn't like it. If you've worked with JavaScript again or Java, booleans are sort of normally lowercase. So here, if I go ahead and type that, that will be fine. So it's just something to be aware of. The other thing that brings it up, when we talk about booleans, is what we call the truthiness of things. So a lot of dynamic languages understand that something being true or false can just simply mean the presence or absence of a particular value. So in this case, if I was to do a simple if statement, let's make x something useful, like an array of 2 things. And if I said x, I'm going to say okay. Okay, it says okay because the x actually has a non-zero value in it, so that's fine. I cannot do the same in Julia. So here I'm just going to make that a number, and I say if x I'm just going to type print okay, and I'm going to close that. You'll also notice that I have to use the end keyword to show that it's the end of the loop. It will complain and saying that and it'll be very explicit. It'll say I'm using a non-Boolean value for what it expects a Boolean value to be. So no truthiness in Julia. So we've looked at strings, we've looked at sort of variable assignments, we've looked at a quick conditional. What I'm going to wrap up with here is the way we declare methods or functions. We tend to use those words interchangeably, but it's important to differentiate them here between these two. So if I wanted to make a method in Python that took 2 arguments and then added them together, I could do this. So let's go f and takes 2 arguments, and I'm going to return the value of those 2 things. Okay, and so now if I call f, and actually I've just done that wrong, but we're just going to go with it anyway, because you get the idea. I've returned 5, which is okay. No big deal, no surprises there. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and do 2 strings, what might happen here is pizza and broccoli. Okay, still going to return 5. That's not a big issue. So let me just go ahead and fix that now. Return x plus y. Okay, so that's better. And now if I go ahead and do that, we'll sort of add those 2 together. If I wanted to do that in Julia, a couple things are going to be different. So first thing is first, I don't actually use the word def, which makes sense. I actually use the word function. I give it a name. I give it 2 arguments, in this case, x and y. Okay, and in this case, I'm going to return. Now, if I wanted to make it so that it can work with both, well, let's actually have a look. So I'm going to return both the value of x and y. And I'm going to say end. Okay, and it will tell me that I've gotten a generative function with the name of f, and it has 1 method in it. Which is going to be the return. So now if I do f of 2 and 3, I get 5. Let's just see if I can clear a little bit of space. But if I do what I've just done here in Python, I go, okay, it tells me an error. It's expecting 2, it's expecting 2 numbers. Or 2 things that can be operated by the plus symbol, and I've given it 2 things that it can't work with. So that's what the problem is. So what I can do is I can go ahead into my function and sort of do some checks and see if it's a string or not. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go ahead and change that to a multiplication symbol. Now this has, if you're coming from a mathematics background, this is sort of based on the algebraic notation of an asterisk. So I might actually link to a show note, to a little link to it, because I think it's really interesting, and I like the way that Julia is using it here. But if you're not used to like groups or things like that, it's not helpful to you. So now if I go ahead and do that function again, and I do pizza and tacos. I don't know why I use food all the time. It's just a thing. It will then actually sort of append those together. So the star is the star is the equivalent to the plus sign in Python when we concatenating strings together. So we've looked at string concatenation. We've looked at booleans, strings and numbers. In the next video, I'm going to use the test units inside Julia to perform a simple function. If you like this video and you want to see more, click on the notification button below so you don't have to come back here all the time. If you have an idea of a project that you want to see me code in Julia, just leave it in the comments below, and I will see you next time.